Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have a very special car for you. It actually started life as a 1995 Ford Ranger, but this pre-runner truck is truly something special. So if this is content you're after, or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into the exterior of this crazy pre-runner truck. But admittedly, I can't give you guys all the details. So what I'm going to do is actually have the owner of this truck come on camera and do a complete deep dive into this beast. So Ryan, come on in, man. Have you on camera. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for letting us use your truck today. So first and foremost, why don't you tell us all what this truck started out as and what it is now?
So it started out as a 1995 Ford Ranger, kind of just a normal truck, and it was stripped down to the cab and the frame and built it up from there.
I mean, I've never seen a Ford Ranger like this. Let's just say that. I mean, obviously when you say you built it up, I mean, there's an extensive list of things and mods that were done to this car. But I think what we'll do, and to make this easy on you, why don't we first just walk around the exterior and you tell us all about the cool change points. Sound good?
Sure.
All right, guys, we're going to talk about the exterior of this crazy truck. But Ryan, first tell us though, like, did you buy the truck like this, or did you do a lot of the work yourself? Like, what was your thoughts in buying something like this?
So we bought the truck complete. We were going to build one, but then this popped up, and the guys that built it, they did an amazing job on it, and we just couldn't pass up on it. It was great.
I mean, it looks awesome, man. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about what's going on up front. I mean, it's obviously a lot of work underneath the hood. We'll talk about that in the powertrain, but then you obviously got all this work going on underneath the car. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so there's equal length I-beams, which is different compared to traditional A-arm setups that you'd see in a trophy truck these days. So the pivots actually are crossed, so it's kind of like scissors. And then those are mated to billet kingpin spindles. So down under there's billet spindles, and then there's that connects to the steering swingers and tie rods and everything to make all the steering work. It's complicated, but it gets the job done.
I bet it does. I mean, it looks crazy, right? I've never seen anything like this before. So here, let's kind of work our way to the side. Let me, what do you got going on here? I mean, the wheel and tire package on this thing is pretty crazy, right?
So they're KMC bead locks. So they actually lock the bead in place, which is great. You can run lower pressure, have more sidewall impacts, and not have to worry about any of that. And there's 37 by 12.5 BFG tires, which are great. They do very well.
I mean, these are huge, right? So, I mean, is this typical of, like you said, a kind of a Baja, one of these pre-runner type of trucks?
Well, a lot of trucks these days are running 40s and even some 42s. I think some trucks are moving to that. But these are 37s. They're great because on these trucks with the cab, you have to cut the firewall and move that back to make even just 37s fit. So fitting 40s is even harder.
No, I mean, I was like, 37 seem like they're enough. I mean, but like you said, obviously people always want to do more, put more on their trucks and vehicles. So I'm going to quickly peek back here though. I mean, what's going on with this suspension?
So everything bolts on to the chassis. It's located with factory holes, which makes it great, easy to install.
It actually just bolts right in?
You have to drill some holes, I believe, but it locates on factory holes. And then there's a 3-inch coilover, and then a 2-inch bump stop with a 4-inch stroke.
I mean, the work that's been done here. I mean, like you said, whoever the original shop and people that did the work on this, they did really good work, man. It looks awesome. So let me step back here, kind of take in this whole truck. But wait, by the way, though, does this, because I feel like something like this, a project truck, something special like this, does this have a nickname? What do you got a name for this truck?
They call it the Gumby Ranger.
The Gumby Ranger. I love that. The green, right?
Yes.
All right, guys, the Gumby Ranger truck here. So pretty sweet setup. And obviously there's a lot of stuff going underneath the truck too. Is there something you can kind of point out here too?
Yeah, so the radius arms connect to the I-beams. That again locates on factory holes. And same with the 4-link, it's linked. So that locates on factory holes. And up top on the other side, back up in here, on the inside, that's where the upper links pivot that connect to the top of the rear end.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. Like the work that's been done is just so extensive. I mean, pretty much the entire like back half of the vehicle was removed and replaced, it looks like, right?
Yeah, but it still has the factory frame rails. So what they did is they kicked up the frame like a 6 or 7 inches from what I've heard, and that allows you to retain the factory frame but still get the up travel that you need.
Oh man, that is insane. So here, let's for me, I think the rear of this car is literally the craziest view because it's just like completely cut out,
It is
completely exposed. So what are we looking at here, Ryan?
Well, this is our spare tire, so you get a flat, pop this off and
Full size
replace it.
spare,
Yep.
37, right?
Yep. And it's a Curry F9 rear end with a Speedway 35 spline axles, and all the brakes are Willwood brakes.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And you can see more of the links down there. That's where the shocks locate.
Yeah, I mean the the suspension and it just looks crazy, right? And to be able to see it all exposed like this, I mean, it really shows that this thing is a true Baja running truck here. So, what's going on up here, right? What are we looking at
So
up
we have
on top?
dual transmission coolers with the S-Paul fans. So when the transmission's getting hot out there, and it's hot in the desert, you gotta cool off the transmission.
Well, that's how I was gonna say. Like being a desert running truck, I mean, obviously you have to protect for that kind of stuff, like overheating and stuff like that. So, have you had a chance to like take this out and do some?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
No issues out there.
No issues.
Oh man. All right, guys, let us know down in the comments below. Do you want me to go out one day with Ryan and rip this thing out in the desert? I think that'd be a ton of fun and it would really show the potential of this amazing truck that they have here. So, hey, why don't we hop inside and you tell me all about what's going on in the interior?
Sure.
All right, guys, here we are in the interior of this pre-runner and it's just as crazy as the exterior. I mean, there's a lot of work that's been done. So Ryan, again, you're here. So tell us, what are we looking at inside?
Well, starting with the dash, it's a Race Pack IQ3. It's a great dash. You can program it to show what you want if you have the sensors. It's got a whole software to do all that. And over here, we have our switches, just kind of lights, trans fans, radiator. And we have turn signals down here, which is a bit surprising to see on this.
I was going to say, you actually have turn signals.
And we have headlights too, which do the headlights. Not the front light bar, but these are the actual headlights.
Okay.
It has windshield wipers. They're not on, but it can use wipers. And we have a horn as well.
I mean, the steering wheel is pretty sweet. Is that like a quick release thing? Does it pop off? Or
it's an MPI suede steering wheel, and it does just pop off. Just
look at that. So tell me some more about, let's look, there's so much to talk about here. So tell me about these seats right there.
So they're Corbeau seats and Crow 5-point harnesses, which is kind of a necessity in case it does roll. You want to stay in there.
Yeah, I mean, these look super aggressive, right? They're fixed, right? So there's no adjustability?
No adjustment, no.
I
They're
don't think
bolted into the cage.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. Now, other little details, right? I mean, this like roll cage, if you want to call it. I mean, it's super well done. Like the welds, all the construction. Like, I mean, is that pretty standard of a truck like this?
Yes, cages are pretty much standard on any off-road truck these days. This is all a 1 3/4 inch chromoly tubing with a 0.120 wall thickness, and then these gussets, of course, are not as wide, but they're there.
I mean, again, the work though, it looks really, really good. Like I said, the welding, it was painted too, right? All this.
It's painted with Rust-Oleum paint, a stainless steel paint, kind of like Steel It these days. That's what a lot of people use, but it's similar.
Yeah, no, it looks really, really good. And so again, I see, on both sides, we got these headsets here. So like, what are you going to use those for? When are you actually going to use those?
Well, it gets kind of noisy inside with the engine, of course, and the bypasses, the clicking. It just gets kind of noisy, so it makes it easy to talk, to communicate. And of course, your passenger, there's all the nav systems and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you got these like screens here. So what is this one right here in the middle, right?
So this is a Lawrence. It's an older model, but it still does the job. It's great for a track back feature, which is what we've been using it for. So start somewhere, you can start a point, and as you drive, it'll leave a pink line that you can follow and find your way back.
So yeah, basically get you back to where you started. Because like right, that's got to be hard, right? When you're out in the middle of the desert and there's dust and all kinds of stuff, right? It's got to be hard to kind of backtrack. So that gets you back home.
Yes.
All right, good to
That's
have
great.
there. We'll obviously go into the powertrain and the transmission when we go for a drive, but I mean, just at first glance, I mean, what kind of shifter setup do we have here?
So this is a winter sidewinder. It's great. It's a turbo 400 with a manual valve body. So that means there's no clutch. So
There's no clutch.
no clutch.
Okay, so
It's basically an automatic that you can pick what gear you're in.
interesting.
It's
Okay.
great. So then you don't have to worry about a clutch when you're going over big bumps or anything, and the truck's shaking.
Yeah,
You
I
can
mean,
just
obviously it's
shift.
probably a handful to
Yeah,
drive, so I mean, I guess the
yeah.
last thing you want to do is have to worry about a clutch. But I'm still going to use the hashtag save the manuals, so that's pretty sweet, man. So very cool. And then you've got this like other. This is definitely like a much more modern. Is this like an iPad?
That
Right?
is an iPad. Yeah, it's using an Onyx off-road. It's a great map. People can upload trails, and there's trails there. It's what we've been using to find trails when we're out most of the time. It's great.
Now,
It
how
is.
does that work, right? Because like obviously, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, maybe you don't have reception. So is it like it like downloads
Yeah.
the maps and the trails?
Yes, you can download maps. You can save them. It's just a great app. You can do just about anything in there.
Man, that is pretty awesome. And then I think lastly, I don't know if we covered it, is like just how does this the gauge cluster work here? Like what is that race pack gauge cluster there? What is that going to show?
So it shows pressures, temperatures, and miles per hour, of course. Our sensor, the GPS is right here for the miles per hour. That routes to this GPS down here, which then goes into the dash and it does all the miles per hour.
That is pretty sweet. If you guys notice, he actually has a Gumby in the car, right? I really like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is pretty sweet, man. I can't wait till we finally get in and take it for a spin. But before we do, why don't we try to, if we can, let's pop the hood and you can tell me a little bit about the powertrain.
Okay.
All right, guys, here we are to talk about the powertrain of this pre-runner truck here. And, just getting the hood off was kind of an exercise, right, Ryan? You had to,
Yeah.
what were you doing there? You're pulling the pins out, right? So,
Yeah. And then there was a small cover for ducting over the radiator.
yeah, I mean, to be able to pull all that stuff out, it's no easy task, but thanks for ripping that off so we can actually get a true view of what's going on here. And before we get into like the actual like performance specs, right? Like, I mean, there's again this just crazy like bracing and body work here. Is there anything you can point out or tell us about?
Yeah, so it's just all chromoly tubing. Everything structural in this whole truck is chromoly tubing. And this just is kind of like a motor cage. It does unbolt and flip out so you can get the stuff. Because otherwise you can't really get to anything.
No, I mean, really, it looks crazy, guys. I mean, look at all the work, and again, you can see the massive, suspension and coilover setup there. But you told me, Ryan, you gave me the performance specs, and we always call those out. So you said that this was a 5.3 liter V8, makes 245 horsepower and 266 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
That's pretty crazy, right? So it's obviously, putting out much higher numbers than that, right?
Yeah. At the crank, it's probably quite a bit more. There's a lot of drivetrain loss.
I bet in this thing for sure. Absolutely. Well, that is pretty crazy. And like always, guys, the best way to prove that out is to go ahead and get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive. Okay. All right, guys, here we are inside this pre-runner truck, and we're going to go ahead and take this thing for a drive. Actually, we're going to have Ryan take us for a drive today, but, I just wanted to give you guys what the experience might be like. Admittedly, it's going to be pretty loud while we're recording inside, so you may not hear our impressions. We're going to try to talk while we drive. If it comes out and you just hear the engine noise, that's not a bad thing. So with that, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and get this thing started up? Definitely sounds good. That nice V8 rumble to it, right? So again, we're on public streets, so no crazy driving here, but we want to give you guys this experience, and yeah, let's go ahead and take off. blow, guys. Like, honestly, we're sitting here at a stoplight, and all things considered, I mean, I've heard muscle cars that are a lot louder than this, so it's not overly crazy. I mean, once we get up to speed, you definitely start to get all the sounds, all the good sounds. But I'm actually really having fun here. This is pretty cool. So we're gonna go ahead and take off. Let's see how it sounds. I'm not joking, guys. This really feels like just being in another normal car. It's crazy. It's been hard to keep straight. Yeah, I see. You're kind of having to work it a little bit. All right. A bit of play in the box. What would you say? It's hard to drive, or is it pretty easy? It's pretty easy once you get a hang of keeping it straight. So keeping it straight, that's obviously a challenge here, which is interesting because we're actually coming up to some roads with, you know, a couple curves in them. Some of the roads that we'll use in our other driver views. So yeah, we're gonna have to keep it in check here on the street. But honestly, again, this thing is it's fun. Like I said, let us know down in the comments below again if you want to see more stuff like this, or if you want to see us go full blast out in the desert. We're happy to bring it to you. So we're just gonna do a quick pull so you can actually see and hear the performance of this thing. So go after it, man. All right, guys, what did you think of this crazy pre-runner truck? Obviously, we've never had anything like this before on the channel. I mean, the work that's been done to this is truly extensive, talking from the powertrain and, of course, this crazy suspension setup. I mean, this thing is truly a Baja pre-runner truck that's going to be blasting through the desert. Maybe we can actually bring that content and footage to the channel. So let us know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Would you want to see some crazy off-roading? We're happy to bring it to you. And again, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.